So welcome to today. Welcome to this online day of meditation. In conventional time, it is 9 o'clock or just after 9. Saturday, December the 2nd, 2023. And I'm zooming to you from Winjabal Waibal country in the Bundjalung Nation, with whom I pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and which is in actually northern New South Wales, Australia. So today, the theme of today is impermanence, and impermanence is one of the universal characteristics of existence. Sometimes it's called the marks of existence, and impermanence is everywhere. And today, as I mentioned earlier, what we'll do in this beginning session, this beginning time, in the next 15 minutes, is basically an orientation to the day, and also an overview of the meditations I'll invite you to practice. I usually invite people to practice maybe 2 meditations, sometimes 3 meditations during the day. So they're kind of called guided meditations. And so the first meditation I'll invite you to is, I think I'll call it a compassion meditation, and I'll base it on some practices that I've learned in different places. One practice I learned about practicing compassion was from Mahayana Buddhism, and in those practices we would visualize a deity or imagine a deity in front of us, somewhat ahead of us and above us, and we would experience compassion from this deity. I'm thinking about White Tara in particular, and with that practice, it was like I would first of all recognize that I was suffering, and then look to imagine this deity. But it's like when we imagine it, it's actually what it represents to us, having that sense of connecting with something which is universally compassionate. It's just universal compassion somehow. So for me, it was really powerful to do this, this visualization and feel the compassion coming in. And in terms of the visualization, I would see it as light, and that's part of the visualization, but a lot of people aren't visual types. The important component of this is to feel it, have a direct sense of compassion coming into you. And the way this particular meditation goes, you do that for quite a while, and you add to it a mantra. I mean, I used to say, and I have said, sometimes I continue to say this, Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha, but I'm not going to invite you to do that particular mantra. So there's that feeling of compassion, that connection with universal compassion that comes into us. Then we sort of bring it into ourselves. We feel it, and then we start to bring it into our hearts, and we start to radiate that to ourselves, and then eventually to all sentient beings. That's the way the practice goes. So my guidance will be along the lines of grounding, and then connecting with that sense of compassion, and whatever way that can be aroused. Sometimes we think of someone who's suffering. Sometimes that someone is ourselves. Whatever it is, if we can contemplate suffering and then watch our heart's response, which is compassion. And in this case, I'll invite you to feel the compassion arising in your heart, but then open it up to universal compassion and feel the compassion coming in, so that you're experiencing this compassion within and without. Eventually, I'll invite you to become absorbed into this experience of compassion, and then let it expand so it radiates out to all beings. So that's the first meditation. And I'm doing that because it's always good to come from a a position of either warm benevolence, compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity, gratitude, or even forgiveness. This kind of space, these divine abodes, these spaces of benevolence and compassion. Not only do they help us feel good, they also are really powerful tools to concentrate with. Like they enable us to have this sense of appamana, which some of you have heard me talk about. Appamana is this expansiveness, boundlessness, where the boundaries between self and other disappear. And also there's a sense of infinity or spaciousness in our presence. Like we become spacious, infinitely spacious. So these particular high quality meditations are a way for us to access that. And if we shift in our meditation practice from that to, say, an insight practice or a serenity practice, we're already on the way. We're already halfway there. We've got it, not halfway there. We're already very concentrated. So it enables those practices to go well. So the second meditation I'll invite you to will be just inviting you to relax. I'll probably invite you to do mindfulness of breathing, those first 4 steps of mindfulness of breathing, and stabilize our attention, get very, very refined with our attention. I'll invite you to mindfulness of breathing, and eventually I'll invite you to be mindful of the breath at your nose tip, if you can do that. And then hone in on the subtle sensations at the nose tip, getting very, very concentrated, refined. Your attention is very stable. Then I'll ask you to perceive impermanence. I'll invite you to perceive impermanence. So just a caveat about mindfulness of breathing, and I think many of you have heard this anyway, but sometimes mindfulness of breathing is triggering. I know that as a clinician, I've noticed it happening with lots of people. When I've asked them to be mindful of their breathing, what happens is it reminds them of, say, a panic attack or some other time when they haven't been able to breathe very well. And it's disturbing. It's anxiety provoking. And I remember when I first started practicing, maybe 48 years ago, I remember that I tried to do mindfulness of breathing, and sometimes I'd get really kind of uncomfortable. It was like I couldn't do it very well. So I'm telling you this caveat because if you find you become uncomfortable with mindfulness of breathing, don't worry about it. It's a common thing, but put your attention somewhere else. Put your attention, say, outside your body. Maybe you can listen to sounds, or you can open your eyes and look at movement in the trees, or you could put your attention on earth element, like feeling your body grounded in the body, grounded on the earth. When I was young, when I was all those years ago, I used to just put my attention on the way my hands felt as they sat in my lap, like that solidness of earth element in my hands. So that's what I used to do then, and it was kind of getting me away from the feelings, the sensations of breathing, so I wasn't kind of triggered into a over self-consciousness about my breathing. So that's just a caveat about that. The next, if we have any more meditations after that, they'll be silent meditations up until our talk, the Dharma talk, which I've entitled Aging, Downsizing, and Contemplating Impermanence. And in essence, it will be about this first universal characteristic of existence, impermanence. And I'll kind of branch out a bit. I'll go under those 3 topics. Aging, I'll talk about aging and something that happened in my life recently. And also I'll talk about downsizing, and I'll relate that to another experience that I've been having. And then I'll talk about insight meditation and how we use serenity meditation and insight meditation to arrive at the perception of impermanence as one of the insights. But that's the most, probably the most tangible insight that we can develop. As we develop that insight, other insights follow, if that makes sense. So after the talk, I think I'll guide you or invite you to practice the 5 recollections. And many of you will know the 5 recollections. It's always good to do. The Buddha recommended doing the 5 recollections every day, whether monastic or lay people. Every day he recommended to do the 5 recollections, which are the recollection of the realities of aging, illness, death, and that everything that we hold dear will be parted, and the reality of karma. And I gave a talk on karma in September, late September. Some of you may have heard that. But this reality of karma really refers to how actions have consequences. Karma refers to actions, and actions have consequences. And the phrase that we use in that one is that I'm the owner of my actions, heir to my actions, born of my actions, related to my actions, abide supported by my actions. Whatever actions I shall do, of those actions, I shall be the heir. And we can say that to all beings. All beings are the owners of their actions, heir to their actions, born of their actions, related to their actions, abide supported by their actions. Whatever actions they shall do, of those actions, they shall be the heirs. So it's like our actions are the ground we stand on. We are what we have done, and we will be what we do. It's that recollection. And that's actually the ways that's one classic way of cultivating equanimity, to be honest. So that's they're the meditations and the guided and the talks. In terms of time, we'll practice some guided meditations beginning at about 9:30. Probably they'll be, within 20 to 25 minutes long, each guided meditation. And then we'll do some silent meditation. Then we'll have a break at about 20 to 11 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, whatever that time is for you, wherever you are. And then we'll have Dharma. I'll invite you to listen to the Dharma talk at 11 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, which will be 10 o'clock in Queensland, I think. And I don't know, South Australia will be 10:30. And in Western Australia will be 8 o'clock. Is that right? 3 hours, 3 hours difference. And then I'll invite you, I'll do that, probably have Dharma talk for an hour, have some discussion and questions, and hopefully we can do the 5 recollections. We have a break at 12:30 for lunch, an hour lunch, an hour break. We come back at 2:30, 2 silent sits, or silent sit and a walk, or 2 walks, whatever is suitable for you. And then at 2:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, we have some discussion and catch up and see how we're going. Some Dharma talk, Dharma discussions, which could involve questions or answers, or just interactive sharing. Okay. Is there any questions about that for the day? Everyone's all good?